She can join as soon as she gets on here.
Good to go.
All right. I'd like to thank everybody for joining us for our February 23rd meeting. Very sorry that we have to do this virtually, but for the sake of safety of everybody that would be at the meeting, we wanted to make sure that everybody was off the road. So again, we thank you for joining us. For those of you on Zoom, and also those of you that are joining us live on YouTube. It is 7:35, and I would like to call our February 23rd Valley Park School Board of Education meeting to order. Let's see here, we will go ahead, if you would please say the Pledge of Allegiance with me at this time. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the mission of the Valley Park School District, I just like to remind everybody of this as we begin each meeting, is that the Valley Park School District is dedicated to providing a safe and supportive environment of belonging where personalized learning experiences prepare our students holistically for limitless opportunities, empowering them to make the world a better place. I would like to invite Mr. Adam Hamilton, as he tells us about the athletes of the month for February.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pickard. Go ahead and share my screen here. So each month we'll recognize 2 students for their outstanding athletic achievements in the preceding month. Recommended by members of the staff, these student athletes have excelled in their chosen discipline, and I'm extremely excited to share their accomplishments with you. Our first one is Heaven Barber of our cheerleading squad, nominated by Coach Fashion. Coach Fashion says Heaven has grown immensely over the years and is turning into an awesome leader. She's always eager to try new things, and she never gives up. Heaven is always pushing her hardest and is prepared to do whatever is best for the team. She encourages her teammates and never fails to put a smile on their face. We're very lucky to have such a strong athlete with such a high energy on our team. Our first athlete of the month is Heaven Barber. Congratulations, Heaven. Our next athlete of the month is Johnny Prosser. Johnny was nominated by Miss Danielle Fox. And when asked about Johnny, Miss Fox said, Johnny exemplifies what it means to be an athlete. Not only does he display his athletic ability in a variety of sports, but he also shows true sportsmanship in whatever he does. Johnny recently won a gold medal at Special Olympics bowling. Other activities he participates in include Special Olympics basketball, GDSP skiing, Special Olympics bowling, and Blues special hockey. Johnny's a true asset to the Valley Park community. He spreads his kindness and joy to all those around him. Ask anyone who's tried to walk the halls of VP with him. He's a celebrity. Everyone stops to say hi. We're truly proud of all of his success, and we learn from him daily. Congratulations, Johnny, on being an athlete of the month. We'll be inviting both Johnny and Heaven to our March meeting to be formally recognized and get their certificates. And that's all we have, Mr. Pickard.
All right. All right, sorry about that. I'm got kicked off once there. Congratulations to Johnny and Heaven. I know those are great choices. Mr. Hamilton, thanks so much for sharing them with us. At this time, I'd like to invite Mrs. Kaiser and Dr. Strayevsky to present on our gifted education program.
Well, good evening, everybody. I am thrilled to introduce somebody you already know, Miss Kelly Kaiser, who's going to share with you about our gifted education program. This week is actually Gifted Education Week in the state of Missouri, so we're really excited to talk more with you about our gifted education program tonight. So I will turn it over to Mrs. Kaiser.
Thank you, Megan. Good evening, everyone. And once again, thank you for taking time out of your busy evenings to listen about our program. So we believe that gifted students show exceptional abilities in one or more domains. They are present among students of all ages, cultural, ethnic, and socioeconomic groups. Gifted students require differentiated learning experience to address their unique learning and social emotional needs. In order for them to be successful, gifted students need support from their teachers, counselors, administrators, and parents. So tonight I'm excited to share some details about how our program meets the needs of our students and talk about how our future plans will continue to support them. A brief overview of our program: the Valley Park Gifted Program currently provides services to students in grades 2nd through 8th. Elementary students receive 150 minutes of instruction per week. This equates to 30 minutes a day, 5 times a week during their intervention block. Middle school students receive 48 minutes a day, which is equivalent to 1 class period. They meet 5 times a week, and this is during their ELA lab. With first grade students, we tried something a little different this year. We formed a creativity group. This group, the students meet for 30 minutes a day, 3 times a week during their intervention block. And during this time, we work on strengthening some of those critical thinking and problem solving skills. And now just a few program highlights. A lot of these I'm going to go a little more into depth as we proceed with the presentation. Out of 392 middle school teams, one of our 8th grade teams took first place in the stock market game. This was a phenomenal accomplishment by our students, and I'm really excited that we'll get to celebrate them at our March board meeting. Our lessons follow a project or a problem-based learning format. What this means is students work to create a solution to an open-ended problem. Lessons are inquiry-driven, and they encourage students to use higher order thinking skills to arrive to conclusions. And we'll talk a little bit more about this in a few slides. More than one option exists for students to gain entrance into the gifted education program. So what this means is basically to be referred. There's 3 ways a student can be referred to potentially receive services. One is by a teacher or a parent referral. Another way is by achieving a score in the 95th percentile or greater on their FastBridge benchmark assessments. And the third way is 3rd grade students are provided a universal screener, and students from taking from this screener can be brought forward to our identification list. The gifted education teacher, I'm able to meet the required minutes set forth by DESE, and our program each year is continually in compliance with the state. And due to the uniqueness of scheduling, the gifted education teacher works with all students and is able to support them through multiple years of school. This is honestly one of the best parts of my job. I've had some of my 8th grade students from the time they were in kindergarten until now, and it's just fascinating to watch them grow over the numerous years. I love how the scheduling allows us to build rapport with the students and their families, and it's helped us to form some teams so we can actually support them along their journey. The students know I'm there for them, and this helps build a sense of community and trust. Another basic breakdown of our gifted program population: we currently provide student services to 48 students in the elementary school and the middle school. The middle school has the slide edge, 25 students there receive services, and 23 receive services in the elementary school. So what do we do in gifted education? Throughout the scope of our gifted education program, students take part in activities that promote critical thinking, require analysis of information to justify their thoughts, solve problems, and look at situations through various lenses. For example, today, one of my groups of students grappled with budget constrictions and family preferences when designing a house for a fictional family. They had to make numerous decisions in hopes to meet the family's needs. Another group began brainstorming ideas for their podcast. They're creating a podcast on what it means to be gifted. They hope that it will clear up any misconceptions for people may have about students who are gifted, as well as advocate for the support they need in order to be successful. And Tim, your phone call is interrupting my presentation. Happy snow day, everybody. All right, so let's move forward and let's talk a little bit more about our curriculum. So to achieve this goal that we've set, students are learning authentic ways to solve a problem, which include but are not limited to using technology, speaking with a resident expert, and completing research on a topic of study. They are coordinating and completing projects, and they are participating in hands-on experiences. Our curriculum is designed to be multidisciplinary because in real life, students are expected to apply prior knowledge to various situations. Our curriculum helps support students with this task by giving them opportunities to develop, utilize, and refine these skills. And now I'd like to speak a little more about our identification process. We are making some updates to our process, and we'll go over some of these updates and also explain why we believe they would be beneficial to our program. So we are sticking with our referral process. We're keeping some of this mainly the same. Teachers and students may still, parents and teachers may still refer students for gifted education screening. We'll be using a different universal screener, the NNAT, and it will be given to students in first grade and in third grades. This gives us extra opportunities to catch some of these students so they don't slip through the cracks. We'll still be utilizing our FastBridge data with scores in the 95th percentile. Once a student is in the referral process, they'll move on to data collection, and they must have qualifying scores in at least 2 of the 3 following areas. When they take the NNAT 3 assessment, they must achieve a score of the 85th percentile or greater. The Renzulli scale score is a rating scale that the classroom teacher administers, and it gives us information on their learning and creativity characteristics. They must achieve a score of 4.5 or greater on the scale. And once again, FastBridge data, as mentioned earlier, the score must be in the 95th percentile or better. Now, we are also going to be implementing a review process. So what this means is, let's say a student achieves a qualifying score in one of the 3 areas, but they were really close in the other 2. Myself and a team of 2 or 3 other staff members will meet to talk about the student and discuss a plan if we feel we need to collect further data. This could be administering a COGAT assessment, administering an extra FastBridge assessment, looking at some things we can do to truly decide if gifted services would benefit this student. Finally, our last step is ability testing. And I am proposing that we use the Kaufman Brief Intelligence Test, or the KBIT-2, with students achieving a score in the 95th percentile or greater. This is similar to what we currently do. And always the big question, why? So one of our big reasons is equity in the 20% rule. And Dr. Donna Ford is a professor at The Ohio State University, and much of her academic work is focused on this topic. Essentially, the makeup of our gifted education program should reflect the makeup of our school district. There is a 20% allowance given for various circumstances. For example, if we had 50% of the VPSD student population as female, we look at that 50%, that percentage, and we take 20% off of it. That would mean that our percentage of female students in the Valley Park Gifted program should be at least 40%. We've also looked at some research over our tests that we're going to be incorporating, and some research has shown that the NNAT has found similar proportions of Black, white, and Hispanic students have earned high enough scores to be considered for gifted education programs. Our testing protocols have changed. By utilizing these various tests, they will allow us to continue to be compliant with the state in our identification procedure. And as mentioned earlier, we want to incorporate utilizing additional tests so we can gather more data so we can make sure that we are making an informed decision on our students. Some other whys are our population comparison. So as mentioned earlier, our gifted education population should reflect our school district population. So the gray bars represent the percentage of students in the Valley Park School District that fall into a certain ethnic group. The blue bar represents what the percentage of that group would be if we were utilizing the 20% rule. And the orange bar currently represents our population, our current population of students in the Valley Park Gifted program. So as you can see by this chart, we are underrepresented in numerous groups. So by using some of this new identification standards, this is going to help ensure that our populations are reflective of our school district population. We also look at populations of students in other various subgroups. We look at our students who have an IEP. We look at our free and reduced lunch students and our students with limited English proficiency. As you can see, we need to make some work in these subgroups too, and we believe that this plan will help us close these gaps further. So finally, I'd like to go over some program goals. And the first goal is that the Valley Park Gifted program will continue to provide relevant, engaging, and challenging curriculum to the students. Our curriculum writing process will begin in summer 2022. This is quite a process, but it's an important one. We will be looking at our curriculum from first grade through eighth grade and ascertain the strengths and areas of improvements. A strong emphasis will also be placed on social emotional learning. The fact of the matter is, gifted education students are not immune to social emotional struggles, especially those of the past 23 months. One of the ways this will be addressed is by utilizing social emotional lessons developed by gifted education teachers from across the state. The lessons have a strong focus on how topics like anxiety and perfectionism, amongst others, can affect our students and ways to help them cope. And finally, we will continue to partner with other districts to ensure that our curriculum is relevant, engaging, and promotes the mission, vision, and values of the Valley Park School District. Our second goal is that the Valley Park Gifted Program will review and update identification protocol. We are in process on this, as explained earlier, through the adoption of new assessments. We will be also looking at multiple pathways to identify underrepresented groups. This practice is supported by the state, and they have provided information how to proceed further with this. And finally, we will be forming an identification cohort to go over those students who are just kind of right on the bubble. So in closing, just a few weeks ago, I was able to speak with my former principal from Beerbaum Elementary. We were talking about education, and he made a statement that stuck with me. When making choices in education, he said, keep the kids first and everything will fall into place. This is one of the many things we hope to accomplish with our gifted education program. I want to thank you for listening tonight, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Kaiser. Does anybody have any questions about our gifted program?
I don't have any questions, but I'm excited to hear that we're adding that social emotional piece. I feel like so often those students are so bright and they struggle with multiple things that if we can give them tools and strategies now and set them up for success later, I think that's wonderful. So great job.
For sure. Thank you for your feedback.
Yeah. Thank you for all the work that you're doing with that program. I know it's been a blessing to many.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I would just add, I think Kelly is a great example when we talk about valuing our talented staff. I don't think people realize all the different hats she has to wear and the different grade levels that she encompasses within our gifted education program. In most districts, there would be 4 or 5 Kellys. We're lucky to have one really great one. And I also think her program synopsis tonight is just a perfect measure of everything we're trying to do in our district when we think about creating limitless opportunities for all students. When we talk about creating places of belonging and safe school environments, that social emotional piece is so good. And I love that Kelly has added kind of that equity lens to it as well to make sure that we're really encompassing all the rich diversity that we have within our district. So just more kudos to Kelly and all the great things she does. I think so many people underestimate sometimes the scope of the work in our district. We have all those regulations and expectations of districts 4, 5, 10 times our size. But we've got some really great people like Kelly doing the heavy lifting. And so we're really fortunate. So thanks, Kelly.
Thank you, Dr. Dilge.
All right. If there are no other comments, again, appreciate the 2 presentations that we had and the time and effort put into those to let our community know what's going on. At this time, I'm going to move on to 3.01 and make a motion to approve our agenda. Can I have a second, please?
Okay.
All right. As we do while we're on virtual meetings, I'm going to do a roll call, and I just want to make sure to see if Faye got on. Faye, did you ever get on? Okay, then we'll go ahead and go through this roll call. Adam.
Aye.
Nicole.
Aye.
Lisa.
Aye.
Pete.
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. All right, we have an agenda. Next, we have our consent items. 4.01 is the approval of the regular session minutes from January 26. 4.02 is the approval of the check register for February 2022. The approval of the gifted identification protocol. 4.03 and 4.04, we had the second reading and approval of the 5 different policies there: BDDH1, DJFA, DGFA AP1, AP2, and DLCA. I would like to go ahead and pull BDDH1, public participation at board meetings, from this vote. And I'll make a motion to approve 4.01 through 4.04 with the exception of BDDH1. Can I have a second on that? Or would anybody else like to, yeah, can I have a second for that?
Second.
Would anybody else like to pull anything else out from the consent items? All right, then let's vote on those consent items that were, a motion was made. We'll begin with Nicole,
Aye.
Lisa,
Aye.
Pete,
Aye.
Adam.
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Again, I just wanted to pull the public participation at board meetings. That is policy BDDH1. And this is one that we changed recently from 5 minutes. And the only change that we were proposing at the time was 30 minutes. I would like to discuss this a little further and just see what the thoughts were on possibly amending this and taking out the only items from posted agenda may be discussed. I just want to get your take on that and just kind of get a discussion going on removing the part in the policy, only items from the posted agenda items may be discussed.
Yeah, no, I've looked at a couple different districts, and most commonly what I've used before at Valley Park, if somebody wanted to put something on the agenda to be talked about, they were able to do that if they did it 5 days prior to the meeting. But it had to be a relevant issue, and it couldn't be personnel or student scoring or anything private that they couldn't put on. So they were able to talk to something other than our agenda items. Also, I'd like to change and make a line item in that policy that says the speaking would occur prior to any action items that were on the agenda, so that we hear the people's opinions. I mean, if you're a decent board member and you've read your stuff and you know what you're doing, then it wouldn't make a whole bunch of difference. But I think we need to hear the people's opinions prior to our vote if it's something to do with the agenda item that's coming up anyway. So I'd like to have a line item that public participation was happening prior to any action items being on the agenda.
Any other thoughts or comments?
I agree with moving up the public comment. I really think it should happen before we take a vote on anything.
Yeah, I agree with that as well.
Okay. Is that something that we want to put in the policy or make a practice?
We could make it practice, but I guess if it isn't a policy issue, I guess we could move it around anywhere we want. The only good thing about being in the policy, if all 7 of us are here, no longer here, somebody else is going to move it. So at least it's in writing, it's going to keep it in the same spot.
Any other thoughts on that, on including it in the policy?
I just want to say, I think that, none of us, I don't think, put this policy together. So I don't think any of us are truly married to it or have any strong personal feelings about it. So I'm open to change.
Does anybody else see? I mean, we heard Pete's thoughts regarding the posted agenda items. There is a procedure for people that can follow, like Pete said, regarding putting things on the agenda that are not just from us, as long as it's 5 days before. But is that something? What do we want to do as far as, like, do we like the idea of just having that be the avenue, or is it good to take that out? What are any other thoughts on that?
I mean, I feel like so long as, people in our community and the public are able to, have their voices heard, either way would be fine with me.
I'm okay with the idea of like the 5 days notice thing. I'm fine with that. I think if they can submit it and get it in, I'm fine with that too.
Okay, and I think with that policy, I want to be clear that this has nothing to do with when we post our agenda as well. This does not have to do it. It doesn't matter what we have on our agenda. If somebody would like something, they just need to follow that policy regardless of if something is on our agenda. So there's an avenue to do that. I don't know if it's quite as well known, and does give us the ability to to be prepared, and something that we can talk to. In public comments, we do not discuss that either. We don't discuss a comment that was made. We don't reply. We wait a few days before we do that. So I see benefit, and I see benefit in both for sure.
Are you planning on looking at 30 minutes total and 3 minutes per person max?
Yeah. Yes. I think it can be determined. The way that it's written right now is that the board will establish a uniform time limit for each speaker, and that allows the president to divvy up those 30 minutes depending on how many speakers we have. That way, it wouldn't limit if we only had 2 speakers. I mean, do we want to allow 15 minutes per speaker, or do we want to say a maximum of 5 minutes per for a speaker?
I think you give the president the ability to break it up the way he see fit, because if you got 15 speakers, you can't necessarily give one person 15 minutes. So it's going to be 3 minutes for max of 10 speakers, or whatever it comes to 30 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. And that's the way that the policy is written. It's definitely on there that way. Okay. Well, all right. So as far as the public comment is made in the way that it's written, are there any changes that anybody would like to see made? Like I said, there is an avenue for people to make those comments, or to have something on the agenda and make a comment. Do we want to leave it as a practice as opposed to a procedure for when we place the public comment time? I want to make sure we get this right.
I'd like to make it a procedure. That's just my one vote.
Okay. All right, so do we have any motions going forward for public policy BDDH1 and public participation at board meetings? You know what, I'm going to go ahead and make the make a motion that we add we add it to practice, or to the policy that we place those items. You know what, I've been debating this all day, Pete, because I've been thinking about it. I would say that there are people that definitely want to make comments. I know that's something that I have been hearing from others in the through Facebook and through personal conversations, as far as just the being able to have time to make the comments, because we don't want to give people a run around. We want to make sure that they are heard, and having a way to do that. I think that people knowing the policy that's in place is what a lot of the problem is that in order to get on the agenda to be able to have 5 days before a meeting. So can anybody help me clarify this a little bit in my mind?
I think we just write the policy that says that we'll allow a total of 30 minutes and the time per person will be allotted by how many people are aligned to comment that particular board meeting. And we will have people have the ability to add to the agenda 5 days prior on relevant issues that are not of personnel or student matters.
Okay, so even though that's in a policy somewhere else, that is something that we can add to this part of the policy
Absolutely.
as well.
Yep.
Okay. I feel
Anything that
comfortable.
streamlines it for people when they're going to do it.
Yeah,
It
it
keeps
puts
you
it all
from
in
going to
one
2 or
place.
3
place.
policies. It's
Right.
difficult enough for us to read the policy book, and people that don't see it all the time have to go look through 3 or 4 different policies. It's difficult at best. So if we put it all together,
It's actually,
gonna be-
yeah, it's actually in that, it is actually in the policy under agenda items. In that same one, it says any member of the public who wishes to have an item placed on the agenda will present the request in writing to the superintendent or designee. The request must be submitted pursuant to board policy and received 5 business days prior to the scheduled meetings. So it is in there, and the item will appropriately be placed on the agenda. This kind of takes it out of our, it really takes it out of our hands almost. As far as if we want something on the agenda, it allows them to do that 5 days prior. So
yeah, the problem is the public hasn't known that, and some of the complaints were they can't talk to anything unless we put it on the agenda, and it's been there all along.
yeah, it's been there. So I think the it's definitely in there, and it also allows us the ability to speak towards them. I like, or towards whatever they might be speaking about, and so I do like that better, for us to be able to have a conversation, possibly, or for us to be able to discuss it, as opposed to just listening. I think that's a better way to do it as well, where we might discuss something. So I think that might be appropriate. Okay, well, that's already in there. That's already in the policy, in the agenda item. So I think the way that it is written is the way that it should be. So I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we approve BDDH1 as it is written in our second reading. Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any other comments? All right, we will begin with Pete.
Aye.
Adam?
Aye.
Nicole?
Aye.
Lisa?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. All right. On to action items. The COVID mitigation strategies 5.01, Dr. Tim Dilge.
Thank you, Mr. Picker. For anyone watching at home and for the board members, there are a number of items attached to this line item on board docs for you to review. Specifically, there are 2 different plans presented tonight. One is a mask recommended or mask optional plan for you to consider as a Board of Education. And another is essentially a very similar plan, that mask required plan that we have been living and learning under for quite some time now. What I've also pulled up, which is available for you on board docs, is just kind of some cliff notes to provide some clarity to, one, what the board is being asked to do tonight, but also to further explain what is within the realm and responsibilities of the Board of Education, and what are some of the data points that we have used to kind of inform our decisions prior to reaching this point tonight. So I'll just talk briefly through those, but you as the board have had this information. You have the ability to review it and click on it, as does the public on board docs as well. So essentially our action tonight will ask the Board of Education to approve either a mask optional or stay with a mask required return to learn plan. But again, both those plans are on board docs for your review. Keep in mind that as a Board of Education and as elected officials, there are several state statutes, school board policies, and Missouri Supreme Court rulings that both entrust and empower you as school board members to make enforceable rules to prevent the transmission of infectious disease in schools. And I've listed those board policies, several revised Missouri statutes, and the Missouri Supreme Court ruling that gives you the authority to do that as elected officials. When deciding to remain mask required, going way back into December, you probably remember positivity rates in St. Louis County. They were high and they were trending certainly in a very high direction. That gave us a lot of pause and moments of concern, especially when we were thinking about our youngest learners who at that time had not had a tremendous amount of opportunity to even have an opportunity to become vaccinated. Obviously, since that time, we've held a vaccination clinic for our youngest learners to get fully vaccinated. Obviously, a number of offsite opportunities have also existed since that time, but probably appropriately so. If we look back at that decision in December, if you look at the positivity rates in St. Louis County, not only did they continue to trend up, but they oftentimes exceeded 30, nearly 40% positivity rate in St. Louis County. So the decision at the time to stay mask required certainly looks like it was the right one to keep our community safe, healthy, and our students and staff in person and learning. Likewise, when we returned for school after the winter break, rates remained quite high, around that 30 percentile mark as far as positivity in the county. And when we compare that to our data as far as student and staff attendance, we see that both were lower throughout the month of July. And a lot of that was contributed to exposure or positivity of COVID-19. Specifically, can we see this chart here? You guys all seeing this chart? Yeah.
Yes.
So this is actually what I do about every 2 or 3 days. I track the positivity rates in St. Louis County. And so this is kind of the bell curve of what it looked like. The two important markers here, this was our board meeting when we decided to stay mask required. All the activity in the middle here are the positivity rates within the county. And that actually leads us up to yesterday positivity rate, which was at 8.6% in St. Louis County, a little bit lower than where we were in December at 10%. And I believe, though it's not on the actual chart, I believe the positivity rate today was right around 7.5% in the county. So numbers certainly continue to trend in the right direction. Another reason these numbers are important is when we think about those kind of CDC thresholds that they've established as far as transmission rate and spread within a community. You can see the rates here. High transmission rate is 10% or greater, all the way down to low transmission rate being under 5%. As far as the county goes, we're certainly trending in the right direction. Again, below kind of 8% now, hopefully continuing to head more towards that 5% threshold. These CDC threshold numbers are not only important because of county data, but those are also how we established our numbers in the mask optional plan that we provided that talks about a 4% positivity rate within our school district and a 2% return rate. So that's kind of how we got to those numbers. As I mentioned, if you kind of take a week by week snapshot, we have been posting this every week on our dashboard, our student attendance numbers and our known COVID related absences. As you can see, kind of that first week back from winter break, our attendance overall as a district was anywhere between 77 and 84%. And our positivity rates, 6 to 9%. And depending on the building, it fluctuated as high as 15% at the high school in that first week back. So numbers were very high, which would certainly lead one to believe that, mitigation strategies like masking were certainly necessary at the time. Really throughout July, and then this is our staff numbers, likewise, about 40 to 60% of our staff absences were contributed to some type of COVID related either exposure or positivity. And much like the trends in the county, we basically saw our trends very reflective of what the rates looked like in the county. So when rates were at their highest, at that 20, 30, nearly 40% threshold, our attendance was at the lowest. And our community absences because of COVID were at some of their highest. And that held true both for our student absences and our faculty absences. As we start to just kind of drift down, and I won't go through every page with you, but as you kind of get into the end of January and certainly into February, you see things starting to improve in the district. So overall attendance rates getting more to what we're used to in that 90th percentile. More importantly, our absences due to COVID related reasons really starting to decline, really looking at that 1 to 2%. Our teacher absences, very similar, really, many cases less than 1% of our faculty and staff absences being due to COVID related reasons. And those continue to trend. And as we get deeper and deeper into February, our student absences basically become 1% or less because of COVID related reasons. And our staff, same thing, less than 1% for COVID related reasons. So that's just some of the data we've used. Again, we've been posting this on our dashboard very transparently every week. We continue to track the positivity rates as well. So just some of those things that we use to inform our decisions. Again, in January, anywhere between 3 and 9% of our student absences were because of COVID related reasons. Really, since February, our district exclusion rate has been 1% or less. Likewise, as I just mentioned with our staff, 25 to 60% of our absences in January had some connection to COVID. And really, since the end of January and throughout February, we've been less than 1% of our absences for that reason. Again, all those links are available to you or the public to review on board docs. And then just finally, really just kind of two sides of the coin to make you think about in your decision-making process. The CDC, American Pediatrics, and many leading medical experts and hospitals do continue to recommend masking as an effective preventive measure against COVID-19. But then there's also information coming out of the county, really just this morning. The county yesterday voted to continue the mask mandate in St. Louis County. However, the executive director, Sam Page, said this morning in his press conference, the mask mandate in the county would end at 8 a.m. on Monday morning. And some of the data that he shared, which you can find in the Post-Dispatch article, was that at the beginning of January, the county 7-day average, the daily case average was around 2,700. As of this morning, it was under 130 for daily case averages. Likewise, he talked about the positivity rate in the county, which we've already mentioned, being under 10% and continuing to trend in the right direction. And he also shared that hospitals are reporting relief in their COVID admissions and intensive care units. So that's just kind of the kind of whole pie look at it, the 10,000 foot view, kind of taking an objective approach from it about what is within the realm and rights and roles and responsibilities of board members. What are some of the data points we have used to drive these decisions previously, and where we currently stand in the district?
Thank you, Dr. Dilge. I know that this is has been not just a difficult time, but a difficult decisions to make, and and criticized either way that the district might turn. And I know we have said that we want to use the data, and we want to use what's the science that's in front of us in order to make informed decisions. Based on what you've presented, I want to make a motion that we accept the mask optional plan beginning February 28th. Would anybody else like to discuss this?
I just feel like overall we're in a different place. The last time we were having this conversation, the numbers were incredibly high. It just felt like the wrong time to even consider it. But right now it does feel like the numbers are trending downward, and it feels like, I will say I'm kind of living this in my day-to-day work, and those who still want to wear masks do. I'm one of those people, but it also gives others the opportunity to not. And I will say, for me personally, I prefer to wear one still, but it has been phenomenal to see my students' faces and see them smiling. And it seems to be a fairly respectful, make your own decision, support whatever decision that person makes or that student makes. So I feel like now is a great time to give it a try. And I appreciate everybody's patience and support.
Yeah.
A bit of a roller coaster for all of us. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like the data right now, the trends make me cautiously optimistic for this type of plan. One question I did have, Dr. Dilge, do we have N95 level masks available to our staff who request them or would like them?
Yeah, so on both ends. So we have cloth and some surgical mask remaining for our students who choose not to bring one or need one on a daily basis. I was able to secure in the last couple of weeks several N95 masks, enough where every one of our staff members certified and classified should have access to 2 or 3 of those for just an extra layer of mitigation should they choose it. So we do have those availability for everyone.
Excellent. Thank you.
I want to, I think a part of this plan that makes me, that allowed me in my conscience to, to put it forward for a vote was really the fact that if the data changes, then we change. And I appreciate the flexibility that the administration has had, that families have had. I also know that the bullying that has been on different, I hope and pray that is something that we don't see in Valley Park. That the decision to wear or not wear a mask. If this plan is approved. So I'm grateful for for a district that where we can make quick changes based on data. My hope and prayer is that our students and families respect decisions that the other students and families make, as Lisa was saying earlier. So are there any other comments for 5.01?
With what you just said, Jeremy, that is my main concern. I just implore the teachers and the staff to keep their eyes out, keep their ears open for any kind of bullying they see going on. That's my biggest concern. And I really hope that's not something we have to deal with.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right. I believe Faye has joined us for this one. Let's go ahead and put this to a vote then for 5.01, the COVID mitigation strategies. This is for the mask optional beginning Monday, February 28th. We'll begin with Adam.
Aye.
Nicole.
Aye.
Nicole. Lisa.
Aye.
Faye.
Aye.
Pete.
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. So we will be mask optional. I'm sure that that announcement will go out via a district-wide email and text. Again, we appreciate our community's support and patience as the administration and the board really try to deal with this and trying to make the best decision, like Mrs. Kaiser said, with our students' safety and care in mind first and foremost. Again, we thank you all for joining us, and I'm going to make a motion to adjourn to executive session. Can I have a second?
Second.
All right, we'll begin with Nicole.
Aye.
Lisa.
Aye.
Faye.
Aye.
Pete.
Aye.
Adam.
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Thank you all for